You're listening to The Low and No Show, a podcast that tells the inspiring stories from brands and the founders. My name is Johnny Stevens, the founder of Better Without, the app that helps people discover low and no drinks. I'm sitting down with guests to hear their stories, learn about their products, and the lessons they've learned. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Low and No Show. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a constant listener, then welcome back. Today I've got a spirit brand. I've got Gnista. Gnista is from Sweden. I'm joined by the founder, Erika. So hello, Erika, and welcome.
Hi. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
We're delighted to have you on. So can you first of all introduce yourself and introduce the brand?
Sure. My name is Erika Ollén. I'm the co-founder of Swedish Gnista. I've always worked with food and branding and communications and marketing. I've been working with non-alc since 2015-16. And I have to say that during this period, I've really experienced firsthand how this just boomed, going from, juices and one or two kombuchas to where we are today. So I'm very excited. We launched, we saw a need for more complex and interesting and spirit-like non-alcoholic spirits. And that's why we just, developed Gnista back in 2017. So the first version, called Floral Wormwood, one you got there as well, was launched late 2019. And the second one, a smoky and dry and spicy barreled oak, was launched last summer. So we decided, to use the lockdown period to get the second one going.
Amazing. Used it wisely.
Yeah, I suppose.
So obviously you've been a very early adopter to 2015, as you said, when you started looking at it. Categories moved on massively since then. When you, I suppose, first started looking at it at that time, were there challenges that actually you think you wouldn't face now because the category is so different? What was there things that actually you came across?
Certainly, So the brand that I worked with then to launch was a very much like a cool niche brand. So it was a chili infused organic still drink. Very praised, but then again niche. And when something is niche and it doesn't belong to categories, it's like a non-alcoholic beer. Well, it makes sense. You drink a non-alcoholic beer when you otherwise would drink a normal beer or a beer with alcohol, I presume. And so for a small startup, it costs a great deal of money to educate on when to consume something. And so when Seedly just poured money into, when Distilled Ventures poured money into Seedly and really helping to build this category and educating people what a non-alcoholic spirit could be like when you could drink it, making it more socially acceptable, choosing not to drink when you're out with friends. That was a massive help, I'd say, for all of us coming afterwards. And I presume that, the brands coming after, either they did something, similar, so maybe like a distilled non-alcoholic gin, and they would say, well, it's like Seedlip, but, or the brands were like, for example, like Gnista. So Gnista is very different. Yeah. Well, it's like Seedlip, but it's not at all like Seedlip. Seedlip, you tried Seedlip, now try this, and it's different.
Yeah, and with your product, I've tried both. My favorite one is the barrel oak. I think I was saying the other day, real that smoky. Straight away from the smell through to when you're drinking it, it's really got that just really beautiful taste within. When you were creating the both drinks, did you have an idea on, okay, we want to base it on these type of flavors? How, what was your flavor development like?
Well, it was pretty straightforward. I wanted to have a liquid that people who enjoy creating fantastic cocktails would actually be able to use. And these are, people making it at home more and more these days, but above all, it's bartenders and bars, because they're also experiencing how people choose non-alcoholic to a greater extent. They're in a need, for better products. And so we didn't have any ideas. We just, I just went around, gathered some of the best bars, managers, mixologists in the Scandinavia. And I asked them, okay, so if we are to develop a non-alcoholic spirit that would actually imitate, many of the characteristics of alcohol, and, something that you could use, what kind of characteristics should this liquid have? And, based on their answers, there were some overall ones, like, tannins are good, body is good. You want to have that, that kind of the bite, and something that would lingering on. You'd have everything from starting at the nose, going around, to the mouth, and then continuing when you're done. But it very clearly showed the two directions of something that would be more bitter, floral, herbal, and again, the smoky and dry and spicy. And they're very different. I suppose they are similar in the sense that you can, the work, you can just very much replace them with the spirit. Like if you have 4 centiliter of like your normal one, a normal liquor, then you'd have 4 centiliter of Gnista. But they tend to, so more kind of lifestyle people, and maybe how can I say, like beginners, they would prefer the non-alcoholic, the bitter and floral one. But the bartenders, and maybe a bit more advanced like yourself, would prefer the barreled oak. So it's I mean it's good.
Nice. Well, I guess you cater to, say, for both markets, and as you say, you've got the floral one for people making stuff at home and that introduction, and then for people going into a bar environment and being able to try it within the cocktails and actually something that's made by a mixologist, the barrel oak works well. How did you find getting into in Scandinavia? How have you found the adoption of the spirits? Have they have you got into many bars? How's that worked?
I mean, we the starting period was very good until the COVID and the lockdown came. Sweden hasn't been in proper lockdown, but Norway and Denmark has been, and Copenhagen has been by far the biggest Scandinavian market. I also went to London and I knocked the door and I said, yes, no, we do want to launch this. And then like COVID just came and put the but it has been, the reception has been fantastic, and the sales to bars, I suppose it's also because we chose a specific kind of bar. So we go for like the premium places who maybe also have a bit, what can I say, like they have quite a few guests, so maybe they cannot make all the everything from scratch. So it's good for them to have something to help them. But again, the very best places. And we've also gone to bars who have an outspoken strategy, of wanting to offer a good non-alcoholic menu. And again, 3 years ago when we started, weren't as many. Nowadays, all bars with some kind of self-respect, they know that they have to do it. So that's a big difference. I mean, in the UK now, we're working with Dedicated, who very much an outspoken, a non-alcoholic bar consultant, wanting to help bars and make great mocktail menus. Basically.
Oh, it's so important, because I think you've got people now, especially having been at home, they expect. They don't want the fruit juices or the sugary drinks. They want something that is elegant, sophisticated, and actually, if you can give mixologists are brilliant. You give them products, they can come up with some fantastic things. And actually, the more products we can give those mixologists, they can create those brilliant drinks for the consumer.
Absolutely. And also when you, like ourselves, a startup running on own funds, it's very cheap marketing to have a good product and go out, to people in the know and say, would you like a bottle to do something? And they say, yeah, well, this is great. And they share it and they do something with it. But I'd say that, that we've been, you can tell that we belong to the next wave of non-alcoholic spirits. And as yourself, said, these kind of more dark, complex, more advanced ones, because we've been much more, what's the word? Successful selling to bars and through bars. If you compare to, for example, selling, online, via e-com, other outlets. So again, my thoughts on this is that it's a little bit like we're still early days of non-alcoholic, and it's a little bit like when you were 15 and you started to drink something, you'd go for the for the easy to drink white wine or the beer. You wouldn't jump straight onto the rum or the more difficult. And so it's I can still when I get the feedback, we sell in Australia and we sell in Norway, etc. And when I get the feedback from these e-com, they say, well, we love Gnista, it's one of our favorites, but we feel that people are still, they're still opting for the safe choices, like the distilled non-alcoholic gins, the ones that they know exactly how to use them. I mean, we chose to name these two, the bitter one floral wormwood and the smoky one barrel oak, because I don't want to call it a non-alcoholic whiskey or non-alcoholic vermouth or Morrow. It's just a bit boring, and you create expectations of a flavor that are, but in essence, these are to use to replace, with a whiskey or rum, or with a Morrow, in drink. And so it's definitely like it's a bigger choice. It's a more daring choice to buy one of the Gnista bottles if you compare to one of the early kind of more botanical, soft on the palate brands.
Well, I think you've got, I guess it's that education point that if you buy a bottle of the barreled oak, actually what do you do with it? What do you, and that is educating the consumer, whether it's on your website or when you send it out, or I've always had this, I work with a mixologist, and we've always had this discussion that actually simplicity is key, and people don't want to have something that's going to take them 15 minutes to make. They want to be able to go and do it at home, and it's the same with the bars. They are under time pressure, but they want to create something that has got brilliant flavors and everything. And when you've been speaking with the bars and that kind of stuff, and we'll come on to the sort of more consumer side, but when you've been speaking to the bars, have you had to do a lot of education around actually how to use the product, or have you found that they've just run with it?
It's, again, I'm not from a bar background. I'm from like a food and cooking background, and I don't want to go to the expert and say, hey, this is how to use our product. And besides, we target the best bars and the best bartenders, and I want to be able to give them, creative freedom. Not saying, these are the perfect serves and this is how you do it. Because as a creative person myself, I wouldn't want that. But having said that, over this year we since we launched, year and a half almost, it has been clear that even bars and more than anything, like the brand ambassadors, the people out here, they want to be super clear, how to use it. And so now we do have the perfect serves. We have a few suggestions on how to serve it. Now we're just launching in the States, and they very much they've been, we want it to be like streamlined. We want to be able to go to these and I tell them, okay, fine, let's add like 4 recipes, really simple ones, just to give them an idea of what other bars have done.
Yeah.
But I think, when you communicate with consumers, it's something completely different.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny, one of the like industry experts told me a year ago that like, a whiskey and soda, that's like one of the most popular drinks. Everyone wants to like it, no one likes it. And so that's where we're heading with the oak. Like, that's one of the easiest servings you can have. Like, just mix it with sparkling water. And if you want something that's a little bit more sweet, like a tonic or ginger ale, it's brilliant. It's like a squeeze of lime. But yeah, no, I do agree, and I think it's kind of fun, like at home, or interesting maybe, how even like, my husband and I, we're so keen on cooking, and I represent Gnista, and we do have a shaker, but I don't know where it is. I mean, whenever I need to shake, I just get like the jar for whatever out, and I just do it. It's even, you have to be extremely dedicated in order to actually make some of the more advanced.
You
but
do.
But once in a while we do get so Luca Peretti. It's one top bartender from London. He had this perfect serve of barrel oak, which was with soy sauce.
Oh, really?
Yeah, try that. So
wow,
that's,
I'm going to try that.
Yes, and maybe like a piece of, I don't know, an ice cube, and then something. So when you do your cooking, you could have that. It's just like, it's very different, very savory.
Oh wow, God, that is on the list for tonight then. And in terms of launching, you talk about launching in America. How have you found that? Is obviously it's still early days, but how's the reception been?
Fantastic. I mean, the reason why we, I'd say in Sweden, it's more lukewarm. So I've decided, well, I'm not going to try. I'm going to go to the places where, where they feel that, there's engaging brand, where they like the product, and the US has been such a place. So we had this campaign a year ago. Again, everything we do is very budget, but that was extremely successful. So it was like a party, and we had a job ad out, and the job was to come to. You had to be like a real party animal, and two were selected to we'd fly them from anywhere with a friend to come to Stockholm to do clubbing, do everything that you'd normally do like on a fun weekend out. Just like you, not your friend, you had to be sober and do it with with.
Oh wow, I love it.
I know, but this was again, so we're still going to do that. So we had 25,000 applications, still waiting, like people still being like, come on, is this happening? Yes, it is happening. We just have to wait, I don't know, for the second, third wave to die out. But that time I felt that the US was extremely, it just worked for them. And also the US is a little bit behind, for example, the UK. When you talk about the non-alc, so it's more like in lines of France or maybe Australia, and that means that I suppose the non-alc spirits so far, they haven't really they haven't been hooked on them. They don't really see like a big point of it. So one of the biggest ones is they have a big presence, but it's very few. The repurchase rate is very low, for example. And so they've gone straight on to like the next generation. So we have, for example, Gia, the aperitif. We have, lots. So we have more, what's the word again? More functional drinks. So for example, well, there are a few coming out now with, various kind of ingredients that will, give you an up or a down, or, and so it's so King Euphoric is one, it's great, it's new case, and so maybe that's why they've just loved Gnista, because they say, well, the only one we know is sea leaf, and we don't really want to add it to our menu. So that's probably one thing. The second thing is that they love bourbon. And so like it's getting a product over that will do the job. it just makes sense.
Yeah,
and it's quite sense, that it's imported from Europe. I mean, in Europe, we like when it's locally made, all of that. And this is locally made for us. It's handmade, and it's, I make these extracts myself. But for them, it's kind of nice to have something that's imported from Europe. It's quality mark.
No, definitely, and I think everything you say is right around being slightly further behind, but I think they are on a real catch up. They are absolutely wanting to try everything. There's a big movement over there around it, and it's incredible. I think the next 12 months will be very interesting in the US market to see where it goes. So it's definitely one to watch.
I think, for our sake, it's sort of been good in ways with the COVID year, because it has forced us not to run that quickly. But instead of quickly, we were able to develop the second one. We've done, we now know that we have a product that lasts over time. The product's very good. I've been able to actually, find and finalize some great contracts with some great people that I want to work with in different markets. So we have, the Zero Proof in the US as such. I have Quentin, who does more or less a little bit the same thing in France. Dedicated Domenico in the UK. And so instead, because the interest and the buzz around Gnista has been very good and very big. So it's a lot of, and I've had lots of talks with importers, distributors in the US and Canada, everywhere. They get in touch, and sometimes when you grow a bit too quick, maybe like it's hard to steer, and it's hard to get like a good gut feel of what you're doing and who you're working with. But I feel so confident that these people will do a good job.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And besides, they're working with non-alcoholic. I mean, people within this field, in this space, they're so dedicated to what they're doing, and it's really a big thing for a lot of people.
There's a massive passion behind people genuinely want to grow the category, want to showcase the best products. And I always look at all the different categories within non-alcoholic and where they are. They're all at different stages. You've got beer, beer's been doing very, very well. It's there's so many products, and there's a big market for actually creating beers that people try, and it doesn't matter whether it's non-alcoholic or not. The spirits world, as you say, is doing incredibly well. I mean, if we look at on our app, beer is the first category, spirits is the second category. The wines are getting there, they're catching up, but I think there's development that's going in, and where I sort of feel wine's going is that I almost feel like people are taking their time a bit more because they realize how good the spirits are and the beers are, that they don't want to just release a product for the sake of a product.
I mean, I would love to get my hands on either no alcoholic or a low alcoholic, one of these orange wines, or the ones that would give you a bit of a acidity, and I would love that. I would be happy to buy one with like 4 or 5%, but just because as long as you don't get that too much of the alcohol, at least for me, so that you can keep up and you don't have a hangover.
And I think that's the thing. Everyone's gonna find their level of what they're comfortable drinking, and being able to, I mean, it's just being able to find great products, isn't it? And try different brands, whether it's the big brands coming out with stuff, or as you say, your nice niche brands that people like to go and discover. They like the story. I mean, that's something I'm really passionate about, is understanding actually the people behind these brands. It's nice to know, as you say, you've got that passion and the care for the product.
mean, one thing that was really surprised by is how easy and quickly the spirits industry embrace the whole non-alcoholic and the non-alcoholic spirit category. So when I was talking at the Innovation in Spirits Congress a year and a half ago in London, you know, all the big, and I was talking about non-alcoholic spirits and the future, you know, what is it and can you call it? And all of the bigger spirit companies were there, but it was just, you know, this was the theme of the conference, and all of the, I mean, it was very clear, all of the bigger companies, they either, you know, acquire small startups or they make their own versions of non-alcoholic spirits. And that was just, you know, to clear, this isn't something, you know, it's just going to be a big movement and big force, and it's going to be a lot of us like taking this forward. That's great. So now, I mean, I'm guessing that we would see more, because, you know, if you compare to vegetarianism, and where that starts, you know, with the vegetarian sausages and meatballs, and then moving on to that, you know, well, plants are fine, you know, the way they are. We don't need to call them something meaty in order to make it work. And I presume that, you know, that's where the non-alc category is going as well. I mean, now, like the first years, it will need to be called something, because we have to be super clear on, at least, you know, I feel that helps us. We have to be super clear what it is, when to consume it. You know, Gnista is something you drink. You just like replace a spirit. You use the same amount in a drink as you do with a normal liquor. You drink it when you normally treat yourself to a glass, or, you know, hang out with friends or celebrate. But then, you know, we've started not calling it a non-alc gin or a non-alc something. And, you know, that will just continue and grow. And so in clinics, we'll see like lots of interesting non-alc options that don't need to be compared to wine, but just be fantastic on their own.
No, definitely. I think that's the way it's going to go. And I think it will get to the point, and we talked about this on previous episodes, that it will just get to the stage where actually it is. And I use Lucky Saint as an example in the UK as a beer. It's just, you know, I want a pint of Lucky Saint, and that's it. It's nothing more than that. You're not branding it anything different. You know, Big Drop Brewery is an example of, they go, we create great beer that just happens to be non-alcoholic, and that's where it's, you know, where it's brilliant, where it's going to go. And in terms of the actual products, you obviously talked about, you know, you creating them and everything. Talk to me a bit more about that process. What's that been like, and how you do that?
You mean how we produce them? Like what's actually well, again, you know, my starting point has been, you know, I want to have a functional liquid, a liquid that will do the job, that will give the consumer a similar experience, you know, whether it's a cocktail, or whether it's just mixed like with a tonic. And I don't have a background from the spirits industry. I have a background from cooking. You know, I've spent so many hours in the kitchen cooking. I worked as a chef back in the days. That is what I know. And so when we got all this info from the mixologists and the bars, what kind of characteristics that were needed, we gathered a small bunch of experts, and it was okay, fine. So if we want to have that, for example, the acidity, you know, where should we get it from? We opted for rhubarb, for example. And then, so Gnista is more built in, you know, the same way as you'd cook a meal. We do use some of the techniques that you use in spirit making. So, for example, we distill, because that is, I mean, you need that for the notes. We make homemade extracts from vodka, actually. So there's a small bit of alcohol in there, and we do put them on oak barrels to let them rest. So we do use some of the techniques, but it's much more easy to explain, you know, that it's balanced in the sense that you know, we want the savory bit. Okay, fine, let's use lovage. You know, where is the best lovage to be found? Well, we want the bitter. Let's use wormwood. You know, how can we combine these? How can we? And then, you know, we came across lots of challenges. You know, like natural challenges, like well, spring rhubarb is very different from late summer rhubarb. Obviously, the sugar and the acidity will differ. So, and it's the same with wormwood, for example, and with oak, like the different kind of. So we found ways of treating them separately, and it's not thanks to me. I mean, I just like made something, and I said, well, I want it to taste roughly like this. Yeah. And we work together with the production, a small production partner who helps small companies grow. They're very experienced within the more advanced bits of like, I don't know, food production, I suppose, and drink production. But they also have capacity to scale. And they were the ones that said, fine, let's treat, instead of having X amount of wormwood leaves, let's instead do, a bit of brew here, and then we add X amount of bitterness, for example. So this means that we have a product that is very easy to, easy to scale, and that is much more stable. But it also means that we are very much in need of a master blender. And I haven't heard of another brand or another that needs it, but we need to have someone standing, for a batch, trying and then trying to balance. But in essence, we do. So we brew, we macerate. We have, for example, for that heat, for the bite, we have fresh ginger that we macerate. We have a fantastic leek black pepper from Southeast Asia. And we also have habanero that we make like this vodka. That means that you have, the ginger kicks in one place, pepper kicks in a different place, and the habanero in that place. So all ingredients that are in Gnista are in there for a reason. Nice. And it's treated separately, and then they're being put together, and it's all being filtered at the end.
Amazing, exciting. I think people have to try it. I say I've tried both. My preference is the barrel oak, but I think it's definitely one people need to try and go and find it, because it is very different.
It's acquired taste.
Of course, yeah, and it's like everything. I spoke the other day about kombucha. Some people hate kombucha. It's just not what they want. I'm a big fan of kombucha. I like it, but it isn't. Everyone's got their acquired taste.
Yes, certainly.
And where can people find you? Where, if they want to buy the product, where's the best place to look?
If we're talking in the UK, you can get it from Master of Malt and Amazon online. We also now, I'm working, as I said, with Domenico at Dedicated. Mm-hmm. You can get his, order through his cocktail boxes. And then we're also working with this importer called Strongwells. And they are, as society opens up, it will be more, readily available. And so we sold, online through the Gnista Spirits website up until 31st December. And then we decided to close it for the UK because we didn't quite know how but then quite quickly Amazon and Master of Malt took it on. So that's two good places to start.
Amazing. And then I guess your website for people in Europe and then America.
Yes, not America, but you'll if you go to the Gnista Spirits website, you'll find what you need.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Well, look, I've really
good recipes, I should say.
Yeah, no, I had a look this morning. There seems to be some really nice suggestions and things I'm going to try.
Perfect.
So brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and we will speak to you soon, and we'll make sure there's links in the bio. So thank you very much, Erika.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have been talking.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.